first of all, do y'all even want to have kids?
Yes.
You got to ask first. Some people don't want to have no kids.
For sure.
You got to ask that. So let's start there. So are you guys ever afraid of those uncomfortable conversations regarding, just the differences? Because you guys are going to have mixed babies.
Yes.
That the truth is, like, keep it a buck. Y'all going to have children that are going to have this culture and that culture. What type of conversations, or are you guys thinking about that right now? Or you're like, when we cross that bridge, we'll talk about it?
No, we've actually had these conversations. We watched a documentary on HBO recently about interracial dating and interracial families and things like that.
Yeah.
And, Jeff and I, after that, we were like, well, what about us? Because this is going to be our future. Like, how are we going to handle this? Because we want our kids to understand, like, look, you're not this or that. You're both. Yeah. You're everything. You know what I mean? But you have to, we have to teach. I talked to Jeff about this. Like, we have to teach them it's okay to be different. You know what I mean? Like, I think we grew up kind of like, okay, well, we have to fit in. We have to fit into this mold or whatever.
We have insecurities growing up.
Yeah.
That insecurity of being different.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you went to school. Like, I went to school, I literally only Black people.
Right.
That's all I saw growing up. But there's still insecurities within that community because you're like, dang, well, my last name is not in English.
Yeah.
Theirs is in English.
Yeah.
There's a Williams, there's a Johnson, there's a Smith.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I got a whole Nigerian last name.
Yeah.
Wonder how that would be if it was different,
Right.
Not that I wanted an American name. Your name is what your name is. So it's like these things, like, I thought about that early, like later on in life when I got older, like, man, what would it be like? But if I grew up this way. So it's just like, I'm wondering like how those conversations would be like.
And it's like assimilation. Like my parents, they never taught us our language because they were afraid that we would get made fun of for speaking a second language.
Really?
I have a coworker that told me that.
That is wild.
Yeah.
That is so
I couldn't believe it. I was
an
like,
Asian?
Yes.
That are hardcore. Girl,
Right.
wow.
I got
Big
an
old
Indian
pride.
coworker that told me the same thing. I was like, no way.
Absolutely not.
But she still had to marry an Indian, and I'm like, I'm so confused.
Exactly.
But you know what? So that's one thing that my parents regret. My dad tells me all the time. He's like, I wish you guys knew Igbo. I just wish I would have just sat down. Bradley's the only one that speaks Igbo.
What?
And you know why? Because Bradley chose to learn.
Yeah.
Bradley took classes.
Wow.
Me and Bradley are the ones that understood the language in the house. Chris was the middle child.
Yeah.
Chris-
That's me against my brothers.
The middle
I
child.
understand. They don't.
Yeah, she
anything.
does. Yeah.
I'm getting mad at Brian all the time. Like, why don't you know the language? I'm like, I want to teach our kids both languages, but now I feel selfish because I can only teach one.
They're just like,
I want to come in learning it. I want to come learning it.
It's crazy. Like, wow, that is so crazy to hear you say that. Because growing up, my dad was like, I really wish you guys knew Igbo. But what's funny is that he speaks Igbo to me all the time. But I can literally walk in a conversation on accent, but like, oh, I wasn't supposed to hear that.
Yeah.
And I turn around. But like the thing about it is, my dad was like, because my dad like literally pushed us and was like, I want y'all to be going home. Even now, like we go home by ourselves. We don't wait for our parents.
Cool.
We go back to Nigeria ourselves. And so he'll be like, just go. Don't worry about me. Like, you guys have passports, you go. And like, he's like, I always wanted you guys to know the language because at least if you go there, God forbid somebody's trying to like rob you or say something or act crazy, like you're able to communicate. I know that you understand it, but I would have loved for you to speak it, know. But like I told my dad too, my rebuttal was, you didn't teach us growing up. Y'all spoke English to us.
Yeah.
But they did speak Igbo to me. I chose to also understand it too. It was, I don't know, it was just, I was always around it. But Bradley was like, Bradley also speaks Spanish fluently.
Bro.
I don't know. He speaks.
Bradley is a
I told
remarkable
y'all
child.
that one is very different. I told him he's very, very
That
different.
man's the outlier, yo.
Right? He went to Spain and did a whole he stayed with in a remote area with a family that only spoke Spanish. He didn't have a choice. So and then he did Spanish all throughout his school years. But he is trilingual.
Wow. Yeah.
So
That's
and I see him and I'm like, man, that's really beautiful that he knows that kind of stuff. And I think that it's just so interesting to hear you say that they didn't want you to get made fun of.
Yeah.
There was a point in our growing up is that our dad wanted to change our last names to my grandfather's first name because he was like, oh, I'll just have it English.
Yeah.
I just want y'all to have English names. But then it came to a place where he was like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an Igbo man.
Right.
Like
Right.
y'all will keep your last names.
Yeah.
And like, because my dad was like, you guys have English first names.
Yeah.
I gave y'all those names because I want you to get a job.
Yeah.
And I want people to address y'all properly. That's what my dad says to this day.
Yeah.
You know, so just hearing you say that is
Yeah.
so mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
wow, I never heard
It's
of that.
crazy. I remember when she told me that, I was like, wow.
Ain't no way.
Yeah, I was dumbfounded. But then also I looked at my situation. In my household, everybody has a relatively Latin name.
Yeah.
Jeffrey ain't Latin at in no
What's
way.
that, Jeffrey?
Exactly. And the thing,
You got a Jeffrey.
Hey, I need you to call him Hefe from now on. Hefe.
bro, everybody calls me that. But the thing was, one of my uncles that lives in New York, he actually gave the idea to name me something American/English to my mom because I would be the firstborn American in the family, right? So that's cool, right? But then also, I thought as I
So
got
wait,
older,
Jeffrey, you were born and raised here.
Yeah.
Could have fooled me.
He's very cultured.
And like, because
Very
I mean, he
cultured.
speaks fluent Spanish. Like, all like. I
And
just
again,
assumed-
and see, that was one of the main differences that I saw with Aaron and I. I was like, wow, I came from a household where my parents are very proud and they want us to continue this very
Yes,
thing, whatever it
yes.
is. When I got introduced into her household and I got brought into the fold, I saw the pride too. But then I also saw the fear of what? Being blackballed.
Yeah.
I also saw the fear of not assimilating well, right? And I'm like, wow, these experiences are very different for everyone,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And even though my parents are bilingual as well, and they're gonna speak their Spanish,
100%.
you know what I'm saying? They will. The one of the key differences here that I saw between our parents is that it was a fear of assimilation. It was a fear of not actually being well integrated into a system, you know? And also it was a fear of not letting your culture leak out to everybody before, you know, in order to not get fun of, if that makes sense, or to not be insulted.
Yeah.
You know, my parents, they didn't care about that. But I will say, though, that the confidence that they had in their English, you know, back in the 90s was very low, of course. But of course, when we got a little bit older, my sister and I, what we would do is teach them how to say certain words. And
Really?
yeah, of course.
I love this. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
you know, and like simple things like the word sheep and the word shit, right? you already know.
Oh my God.
But it's simple things like that. But it's now gotten to the point where my family, even my sister, who also is fluent in both languages, a little more in Spanish than me, they come to me when it comes to like English wordplay, right? So the thing is, we all learn from each other. And on the opposite end, mom, master at Spanish, knows all the articles, knows the correct conjugations of all the verbs.
conjugations.
The conjugations is the hard part. of those
yeah.
And ella, both nosotros, all that.
all that.
Exactly.
I remember
so
all that.
she, there you go. Better call Bradley, dog. but that's the thing, is like, you know, even within something as simple as language, you know what I'm saying? Like, the insecurities can show.
Yeah.
It's wild though, because it's like, how can you be that proud, but then you want to turn down the volume on something like that, like your language?
Hey, but the thing about so it's y'all. Wow, this is funny. I was having a conversation with my mom and dad one day about just when they came here, and so when they came to this country, my mom was about like 17, 18. My dad was about shy of his 24th birthday, and